The RCMP keeping mum while residents try to get to the bottom of the High River gun seizure. Now, questions about the seizure have so far remained unanswered, and talk of lawsuits is heating up. Our next guest says these gun owners may have a good cause. Christopher Hicks is a founding partner at Hicks Adams Law Firm, and he joins me now. Great to see you again, Christopher.
Morning, Pat.
Why do you think they have a good cause here? Because under the Emergency Management Act, doesn't the RCMP or anybody else have the right to enter a particular building?
I think when there's an emergency, we want all communities want an emergency response to be available, Pat. But here, you know, once you ask the police to do this, two issues arise. Are they exercising the powers that we have delegated to the police properly, or are they violating the powers that misusing the powers that we've given them to help us when we are in dire straits?
Do you believe they were a misuse?
Well, I haven't heard one story, Pat, of the RCMP rescuing anybody. I haven't heard one story of them, you know, cats or people or anything. It just seems to be now that they've gone into evacuated homes and looked around and they found guns. And now they're saying... And
they found marijuana and they found other things,
too.
Yeah,
well, you're going to find all kinds of things, I guess. But it's the guns that are really front and center. So now they're saying, if you can come to the police station with proper ID and show us that you have an acquisition certificate to own a gun and to have ammunition, we'll give you your guns back. And I just think that's wrong. I think their entry was wrong. It was a warrantless search of homes in High River that had been evacuated, abandoned by their owners, and now they're in a very, I think, shadowy legal place by saying, we'll give them back if you can prove certain things.
Under the Albertan Act, they have the right to pick up any objects that they desire if they deem them against public safety. And there has been description where people have admitted that they left their guns on the bed, for instance.
I've read some of those stories and seen some of your broadcasts, Pat, and I thought what they were saying was, we had our guns downstairs in the basement, the waters are rising, so we're taking some of our valuable objects and trying to put them on higher ground in our homes. And so that's why they're lying around in plain view and loose. I think it's just this, Pat. The law generally does not allow you to do indirectly what it does not allow you to do directly. So could the police go directly to the homes of people in the High River and say, without a search warrant, we're going to take your guns, and if you can show that you own them and give us some ID, we'll give them back to you? No. So can they do it indirectly now when they have this emergency? Do that same sort of operation and impose these conditions on the return of the weapons? I don't think that's what they can.
Can you actually sue the RCMP?
Yes, sure you can. Yeah, it's a serious thing to sue a police force, but yes, you could sue them for the return of your goods.
But on what grounds can you sue them? I mean, I'm not clear that this is an abject violation of law, in that the law is somewhat open-ended, I guess.
I think any time, the common law and the charter, Pat, have always put a real value on the sanctity of the home. So before the state can go into your home, they've got to have really good cause.
They have to have a warrant.
Yeah, they have to have a warrant. Yeah, warrantless search really shifts the burden to the police to say, well, you have to justify this now. And here, these are all warrantless searches. They're all warrantless searches. And it's the point of entry that's really important. How do they get into this home?
Yeah.
And they get in because there's a flood. That's all.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, they're doing indirectly what the law would not allow them to do directly. So I think these are charter issues. It's not a local statute in Alberta about how to help people in a flood. It's really charter issues because it's the home that's being violated, or I think is being violated.
So when you go to court, do you go to court in Alberta, or do you go at the U.S. Supreme Court for this charter issue?
Well, you would go to court in Alberta. You go to court in the local courts.
But you could actually particularly challenge the act, because the RCMP is going to fall back on that act. You know that. You could
challenge the constitutionality of the legislation, and I think that's really charter values here, and the whole broad range of the law that supports the sanctity of the home.
What does it tell you about the rights of other police forces, not just the RCMP, because this is the RCMP is a federal force.
Yes.
It's not a provincial one. It's not mandated by the province there in Alberta. It's a federal force. Doesn't they have a different mandate, for instance, than a provincial force?
Well, many provinces have delegated their policing to the Mounties because they can't afford to have several local police forces all operating in the province at the same time. So they are really, the Mounties are the local police force in many of our communities out west. So it's no different, they're in no different a situation. And the charter obviously still applies to them, and the law applies to them all across the board.
Okay, Christopher, great to have you in to explain
Thanks,
that.
Pat. Great talking to you.
Christopher Hicks, founding partner of Hicks Adams Law Firm.